What is up, guys? Welcome back to Talking Nutrition. Today's a milestone episode 50. I can't actually believe that we're already 50 episodes in. Yet here we are, right? We're showing up every single week. And this week, we're actually launching this episode on Tuesday because I'm recording on Monday. It's just been very busy, right? But we're still doing it. And it really plays into today's topic. How to create new habits, how long it's going to take, and what to do kind of like when a bump in the road comes up, you know what I mean? And how to get consistent, right? What does that mean? Like, how do you get there? Like, what does it take to really get to a place where you're not consistent, you're working towards your goals, you know? This plays into, this topic perfectly because we started, right? We've been doing weekly episodes. I think there was 1 week where we didn't have an episode out towards the end of the year. I think it was the Christmas week last year, I think. Other than that, it's been at least one episode a week. It's been twice a week recently, right, this month. And this week will also be, once again, a bonus episode on Thursday. So stay tuned for that as well. It's going to be a Q&A recording of our Momentum May Challenge. Which, that being said, we're almost there. It's 3 days left at the time of this recording. So we'll be announcing the winners very soon in our Facebook group, which, by the way, if you're not a member yet, I'll drop the link down below. Make sure to join us. Free trainings, free downloads, tools, etc. No strings attached. It's fully free, just so we have an option for our friends who maybe just want to learn more or maybe are not really like ready for coaching yet. Like, there's a place, a community for you there, right? So I'll drop that down below. Just been busy. It's just been a busy fucking month with Momentum May. We have the group coaching program, which is also, by the way, we've also done a contest in there, but that was members only. So it's just been a lot of stuff, I have a seminar coming up in a couple days. So just all together, it's very exciting times. It's also our Midnight Sun season already now, which means that we have no night for 2 months. So right now, it's like daytime, and it's like that every single hour, basically. And if the weather is good, which today is actually decent, we can actually see the sun at midnight, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Now, of course, it's a little better than what we get in the wintertime, where for 2 months we don't get any sunlight up here in Tromsø. But hey, it's weird in its own way. I do prefer it, though. I will say that. So let's get into the episode, shall we? So, of course, this episode is brought to you by Odyssey Coaching Systems. I am currently taking on new clients. So if you are interested, I'll drop the link down below. Let's schedule a free call. I never really just want to sign someone up right off the bat. Let's first have a chat. Let's see if it's a good fit. If our program is a good fit to you, the other way around. If you're good for us, because I think what needs to be said is that it's going to require time and effort, and you're going to have to get a little uncomfortable and do the work. So I'm not trying to scare you either, but be aware that hey, this shit does take time. And you want to be ready to take action. And I think today's podcast really kind of plays nicely into that as well, to what it possibly takes, how long it can take to really get you to a good spot. Now, that being said, right? You're going to also want to check out next week's episode because I am celebrating 3 years of my company this month, or upcoming June, I should say. So I started nutrition coaching in 2020. June 2020 was when I started my company, Vesters Nutrition, which at the time was just my last name and then nutrition, right? We changed that to Odyssey Coaching Systems in January. So I've been nutrition coaching for 3 years, and it's been a wild ride. I think it's been super fucking cool, and I'll touch back on this in a little bit towards the end, I think, today. But when I started, I was met with a little bit of I don't know, I didn't really get the support from the people that I expected. But I never let that kind of get the best of me, and I always just kind of did the thing, and here we are. I've been doing this for full time for 3 years now, which is really cool, and it's crazy to think about too. But tying this back to you, right, I want you to keep that same mindset and use that, because this stuff, like reaching your goals and doing what you want to achieve, right, and getting you to a good spot, it does take time. And you need to be you need to be determined and confident and a little stubborn about reaching your goals. You just need to do the thing, and you're gonna get there as long as you keep going. You just need to tell yourself, hey, I'm gonna keep showing up, no matter what. There's gonna be bumps in the road. It's gonna be a lot of doubt, You'll get there though. So I want you to take that same mindset. Hey, right? I'm just gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna figure this shit out no matter what, whatever it takes. So how long does it take to create a new habit? I don't know. If you need to believe social media is either, 21 days or 30 days or 60, whatever. And we talked about this in our episode with Casey Joe. I think she mentioned it is 60 or so. There's one study where they had the average of 66 days. However, that was a range, and the average, that's the average, right? The range was 18 days all the way up to more than 200, which is kind of crazy if you think about that. So I think it's not really helpful to focus on it's going to take 30 days or it's going to take 60 or like however many days. So fuck the timeline, right? Let's just focus on showing up on a daily basis. That's what we got to do. And then we'll see how long it takes. However long you need to put in the work so that it becomes a habit. Because we don't just decide that, you know what I mean? It's not like, hey, I'm going to do this thing and for 21 days I'm going to drink more water. Okay, cool. Like you might actually establish that habit then, right? But hey, are we actually doing it on a daily basis? And like, let's say we're trying to get active. Are we actually doing our daily walk, or are we kind of doing it like once a week because we usually fucking forget everything? You know what I mean? I'm going to help you here too. So let's focus on how long it's going to take and more on the daily action. So I don't want you to start with a time frame and only allowing yourself that time frame of, hey, it has to be done in 60 days, because you're probably going to, let yourself down then. So let's focus on the plan, but let's also not try to like change everything all at once. You know what I mean? And that's that New Year's resolution thing. And I like that. I like setting goals for the year, but I also see people fuck up every time because they try to change everything all at once. I'm going to start going to the gym, walk more, sleep more, drink more water, eat more protein, fruits, vegetables, whatever. So many different things that we can focus on. Stress management, right? And you try to fix everything all at once. Oh, by the way, you also want to build muscle, and you also want to run a marathon, and you also want to do CrossFit, and you also want to build, or build muscle, I said already. You also want to lose body fat, right? You want everything all at once. You want to do it in a healthy way possible, but you also want to keep your alcohol in. Okay, slow down a little bit. Let's come up with a plan, because here's the thing, right? So we can lose the body fat and build the muscle and improve your performance and improve your health and work on all those things, but it's not going to be everything all at once. And this is where I think we need to zoom out a little bit and just kind of look at things one step at a time. First of all, we need a plan. Because if we're just going to jump in and we're just going to do whatever the hell and we're going to chase every single goal, it's not going to work, right? And we're going to change all habits all at once. Like, no. There needs to be a strategy in place. And we talked about this a little while, I think like maybe 2 months ago, about our 3S framework, right? Sustainability, strategy, and systems. With strategy, like that long-term plan, we want to have those 3 distinct phases. We want to first get you in a good spot, right? Whether that's really optimizing the metabolism, which is what a lot of people are doing these days, right? It's like, yes, we do need to get you to a good spot. However, for a lot of people, most people in my experience, it's really more about just getting momentum, getting you consistent with your food intake, working through difficult shit like roadblocks, mental roadblocks for the most part, right? And just actually figuring out your maintenance calories. And then we'll take it from there, right? That's the most important side of things. Like, I will say there are people who chronically diet and have been under eating for a long time, and they do negatively impact their metabolism. So then sometimes we do want to restore that, and that does take time. It's just that for most people, that's not the case. It's more of a matter of like getting consistent and actually trying to like not overeat during the weekend, right? But either way, no matter what, we got to get you to a good spot first. Get momentum, build the right habits, right? Create consistency on a daily basis for your food intake. We also want to come up with a plan, your periodization plan, right? Build this out. The rest of the other 2 phases, and it'll take it from there. Once you are actually ready, when we can actually stick to it. Now, that being said, like second phase, we actually transform the body, right? We either focus on transformation in terms of muscle gain, fat loss, usually combined if people want to actually get, much leaner. It's also about building the muscle, right? If you really, really want to change your performance or your physique goal, you want to build some muscle too. Performance, right? We could also do that. So instead of transform, for some people, it might be perform. You might actually, get into the CrossFit Open or CrossFit competition, or you want to run a marathon or whatever it might be, right? You focus on that performance. That could be kind of like your season, like your in season, And then afterwards, we want to maintain our results. We don't just want to lose the weight. We want to keep it off too, right? We don't just want to get you to a healthy spot and just kind of like let go. Like, no, we got to keep it up. We got to maintain our new healthy habits. Okay. You also need systems, and that's really like the main thing I wanted to talk about today. So with your systems, we have your meals and metrics that need to be dialed in, a little bit of self-reflection, and then we have habit creation. And that's the main one here. That's today's kind of like, system. With a habit tracker, I think, or a simple checklist or whatever you want to do to gamify it, we use a habit tracker, which I can link down below. It's a free download. But with that, you can start to focus on that daily action I talked about. What we do with our clients a lot, which, by the way, is what the consistency contest that we did with our members inside of our group coaching program this month. That's literally what we use on a daily basis. You check the box, right? So we have 3 goals. We did calories, protein, and steps. Those 3 targets, right? If you hit that on a daily basis, boom, there you go. You get a W per day. That's your daily win. And we just try to collect those daily wins, right? We can we see how many we can get for the week. Sometimes it's a full week. Sometimes it's only 5 days or 6, whatever. I literally just had a check-in today. A client of mine, she just got back from a trip to Italy, right? Did very well. Managed to keep it flexible, right? Vacation weight is kind of coming off now. Usually, by the way, right? Little side note. If you ever go on a trip or something, you come back home, you're heavier, give it a little bit of time. A lot of times you'll see that come back down again across that week, just from loss of water weight. Sometimes, we're dealing with a little bit more, sometimes a little bit of inflammation, maybe even different foods, right? Mostly water retention, but just like the system usually gets a little bit of, you get a little heavier from like flying even and stuff, so give it a little bit of time. Usually you're gonna be fine unless you really went all out, but either way. So she came back, right? Saw her weight drop again throughout this week or the previous week. And she's like, hey, you know what? Like for this week, let's just focus on the daily wins. And my goal now is to go for 5 daily wins instead of 3, because last week it was 3. It's a little bit more flexible, right? So now the goal is simply to look at that number, and that's how we gamify this. And this is why this is very important, guys. This is where we take the idea of, hey, we want to establish this habit. We want to keep you consistent. We really want to focus on that daily action, right? We now take that, we put it into a sheet. And again, I have this for you. It's a free download. I'll link it down below. You plug it into your sheet, your habit 1, 2, and or 3, right? It really depends. I'd much rather have someone work on one thing at a time, but okay. We start there and you start chipping away, right? So your daily goals, and you win your days. And we, in her case, we go from 3 to hopefully 5 or 6 days this week. Do we need to be perfect all the time? No. I'd much rather see someone hit like 6s for the most part, like 5 or 6 even, than 7, 7, 7, but having a really hard time being a little stressed about it. You know what I mean? We don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. Even going back to this podcast, right? Today, we're actually recording it on Monday and launching it on Tuesday, right? We missed one weekly episode, I think, late last year, but we still keep showing up, right? Some episodes are great. We feel great about it. Sometimes we're like, could have been better. Either way, we're getting there, but we're showing up, and that's the thing. That's what I want you to think about. So every time you listen to this podcast, think about that, right? We're also showing up on a weekly basis. We're doing this to help you. So I want you to apply that same mindset to your goals, to the things that you need to do to reach your goals. But let's gamify that, because when you see how consistent you are, because you get a score, by the way, if you use my habit tracker, you literally get a consistency percentage score for the week. It becomes a game. Hey, can I now get a little bit more consistent next week? Can I do a little bit better, right? That's the goal. It's really fun to kind of, gamify it that way. And it's a great way to really see on paper where you're actually at. I really like it. It's really worth a try. Again, grab the free download. You'll be added to my newsletter. If you don't want that, hey, unsubscribe right away. If you hate it, delete the habit tracker, do whatever. but at least try it out. I think you'll like it. I think you're going to like that one. So check it out, right? In the show notes. Either way, what do you do when you mess up, when you miss a day or even a few days or even a full week? What do you do? Right? What do you do? Same kind of thing as I mentioned, right? What do we do now? Like we missed one Monday episode. Okay, cool. I'm going to record it on Monday, put it up on Tuesday. What did we do when we missed the one episode towards the end of the year, right? Which, by the way, over the course of almost a year now, it's not that bad, right? We've been very consistent. What do? You just pick it back up again. And that's what I want you to think. Like, the more days, and this is directly taken from Atomic Habits, but you want to build that chain. You want to see that streak, right? That daily win streak. However, when you break that, it's cool, but you don't want to kind of see that turn into a streak of empty days, right? Because as much as you need to focus on your daily action to establish a new habit, the opposite is true as well. So the longer you kind of miss those daily wins, the more backwards you're going to go. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're standing still, you're actually going backwards. Because more difficult than to change your habits again. So you got to catch yourself and pick it up the very next day, which, by the way, once again, is why we use the habit tracker, because we have it on paper. It's objective data that we can use to make decisions to hold you accountable. And we can show you, hey, you just, you said you want to do this and you only did it twice this week. Okay, cool. Why is that? Are we struggling with something? Is it difficult? Okay, cool. Let's make it easier. Let's teach you how to do it well, etc. Right? Okay, cool. Let's make it a 3, a 4, a 5, whatever, But let's hold that, in front of us to really see where we're at. Because I think a lot of times it's kind of like, hey, I want to be active. I'm going to get more steps in, or, I'm going to get more water or my protein. But it doesn't go beyond that. It doesn't get, it doesn't get like, what's the right word? Quantified. So we can't track it and we have no idea. Cool. Are we playing with the idea of establishing a new habit? Or are we actually putting it into action and we're tracking it because it gets measured, gets managed, and that's a fact. It goes for your food, your finances, your habits, whatever, We can then step away from it. Like once our habits are dialed in, we can step away from the data, but use the data to your advantage to learn from, hold you accountable, But again, you do need to keep showing up. So once you miss a day or 2 or 3, you just look at it and you're like, hey, okay, cool. This is where we're currently at. Now I'm going to show up the very next day again. And you keep collecting your W's again. And try to beat your previous streak, Collect your daily wins. That's what you got to do. That's what this whole coaching thing is too. Like you're not going to get it perfect. Like some people think like, hey, I'm going to sign up with a coach and then I'm good. I'm going to all of my problems are going to be out of my hands. Like, no, actually, you know what? Like the real work has just begun. Like when you sign up with me or with Christine, right? Or anyone else who does it similar to us, right? The real work has just begun. Like no coach can do this for you. No meal plan, program, whatever, right? You got to do the thing. We're here to hold you accountable. That's what I want you to think of, right? Because don't expect it to be easy because it's not going to be. Guess what? That comfort zone that people talk about, right? Step out of your comfort zone. Like it's a real thing. Within that comfort zone, you don't grow. Right? You don't grow. And this might even be like a cool other episode. Getting you from that comfort zone to that growth zone, which by the way is a few steps. It's not just stepping out of it. Like the step out of it is the first kind of bit, But there's actually a few zones there to eventually expand your comfort zone and you can keep growing. But okay, it's for another day. I'm going to write that down. We'll get back to that in a couple episodes. But okay, it's not easy, to be honest with you. Coaching and reaching your goals and those kind of things, changing your habits. Guess why it's a habit? It's a habit because it's something that you just do without thinking. It's just autopilot. Imagine how difficult that is to change that, to rewire your habits. It takes time. And that's why I really think with the habit tracker, with the accountability, you can actually get there, but you need to keep showing up. You need to put in the work, right? It's hard work. It's continuous effort. You need to do a lot of reflecting, which is uncomfortable sometimes, either with your coach or on your own. You need to talk through shit. or at least work through stuff yourself. I mean, I have my journal right here. I do a lot of meditating, right? And I want you to think too, right? With the troubleshooting, like we can get you there, but if you look at some of the before and after photos that we put up, it's easy to look at the photos and be like, oh wow, that's amazing, this many kilos or this transformation, whatever. But then again, right? It's just 2 moments, and you have no idea what happens in between. And those people, right, our most successful clients, they're not perfect. They struggle with a lot of shit. They fucked up a lot of times. We just don't see it that way. We see it as learning. We learn or we grow. You know what I mean? and they're definitely not perfect, and they don't have to be either. That's not even a goal. I don't want my clients to be perfect all the time, right? Because that's also not sustainable. And we don't get people on like bodybuilding stages and stuff. Like that's not what I do, right? I get people just healthy in a good spot, get you to a good place, but also in a flexible way. So I don't need you to be perfect. That's cool, right? And we want to work through this stuff. But going back to our clients, the ones who really who really kill it, who lose the 20, 30 kilos, whatever, or overcome their mental struggles, some things even like sleep related stuff because they keep working through it, burnout, those kind of things, right? They kept showing up. That's the main thing. That's the only thing that makes them different than people who fail, is that they actually just kept showing up. They just kept trying, right? That's the thing. People who are successful, they just are okay with fucking up more, and they just keep showing up anyway. And also through difficult times, they still made it through. And sometimes, right, I had one client who let you stop for a little while and then got back. Okay, cool. Now I'm a little bit in a better place, bit of a burnout, and then we continued. Okay, cool. Awesome. Right? I've had people sometimes miss check-ins for multiple weeks in a row, and then they show up again. Hey, had a hard time. Okay, cool. Right? Usually it doesn't happen anymore. It's just very clearly communicated with them, because I'm always like, hey, you know what? Like, as your coach, I'm not just here to update your macros. Like, honestly, you guys, everyone's listening to this podcast. Like, you can go online, you can figure out your macros and how to adjust it on Google. It's super fucking simple. That is fact. You can go online, go to ChatGPT, get a meal plan. It takes 2 seconds, right? That's not what coaching is. It's very simple to set your calorie target, to set your macros, etc., and to be like, hey, here's your weekly recipe, right? Or your weekly PDF, or an app that even does it automatically, right? And those are great tools, don't get me wrong. But I just personally, and this is just my approach, right? I'm not against whatever anyone else does, but that's just not what I do. I don't believe that helps you change your habits, right? And guess what? A lot of people do try the meal plans and those kind of things, and it doesn't work. Now, why is that? Because we don't do this stuff. We don't work through the obstacles and the habit creation that does take time, and we continuously make that effort, right? And the reason I brought this up, I'm totally just blanking out on it for a second now. But I mean, yeah, sorry. The reason I'm bringing this up is that it does take time, and we can't just think, hey, it's going to be just a meal plan, or, like that's coaching, like it's just a macro or whatever. Like, no, it's that behavior changes. It's showing up every week and talking about this stuff too. You know what I mean? I always tell my clients too, hey, I'm not here for the easy shit. I'm not here to just tell you, hey, great job when you hit your macros. Like, no, I'm actually here for the hard weeks, especially when you're like, hey, I'm having a hard time. I can't figure this out. I'm struggling with whatever. Okay, now that's the shit. Like, that's what we need to work through. And that's why I'm doing this podcast with you. Because yes, we're talking about habit creation, etc. This almost sounds like it's like a different topic. But guess what happens when you start to try to change your habits? Guess what happens after a couple of days when your motivation kind of goes a little bit away, or whatever it is, something comes up, you're busy, whatever. Guess what happens? You hit a roadblock. You hit a roadblock, little bump in the road, whatever it might be. Sometimes you completely fall off. You're like, fuck, okay, just got to restart. Okay, cool. But sometimes it's just kind of like, not perfect, but okay, I can keep going. But those kind of things, they show up, and it's not going to be perfect. And I want you to know that, because it will never be. No one has a perfect transformation, right? But again, our most successful people, they just kept showing up. Not for like a couple of weeks, right? Not like a 4-week diet. Months at least. Sometimes a year plus. Think about it this way too. If you've been struggling with something, health-wise, weight-wise maybe, for years, don't expect it to change in a couple of weeks either, right? But you won't nail it on day one, and that's okay. No one starts tracking, well, maybe a few people, but no one starts like tracking the macros and just gets it right away, right? No, it takes time. It takes repetitions. And literally, I got this, and I think I brought this up a long time ago. I have this Norwegian keyboard, right? And in Norway, so there's 3 different letters here. I'll show you guys in the camera. These 3 here, called A, Ö, and O. So we have 3 additional letters here, but I'm not from here, right? My laptop is like a European one with a different keyboard. So I was like, hey, I'm going to get a new keyboard. And then I was like, oh shit, it's a Norwegian one, right? And I'm not used to that one, because some of the symbols are in completely different spots. And I swear, the first week, I was continuously, I think every sentence I was, hitting like question marks and wrong letters and those kind of things. And I was messing up. I was really frustrated. You know what I mean? Equally frustrated to someone who might be trying to, get into tracking macros or trying to figure out something, or weight loss or whatever it may be. So I want you to make that connection already, but okay. So I was really frustrated. Yeah. So this first week, I'm like trying to type and I'm fucking up all the time. And I'm like, this Norwegian keyboard sucks, This Norwegian keyboard sucks. I can't use it. I just kept switching back to my laptop. But then I kept using it though. And then the next week I got a little better at it, And then I made a few fewer mistakes. And then the next week the same thing. And then I got better. And you know what? Like now it's second nature. I can use this one or just my laptop one, and I just switch. I go to my Mac, top right, you go to like the keyboard thingy, and I switch between Norwegian and whatever is the other one. I don't even know anymore. You see Norwegian and it says ABC or Norwegian. Okay, right? So I can switch between the two, and it's fine with the different symbols and different spots and some letters, right? Which is kind of crazy, because that first week I was really frustrated, and I really thought to myself, I can't use this, right? But just like that, and that's how a habit works. And now it's literally like second nature. I don't even think about it. I make like no mistakes, even if I switch from one to the next keyboard with the different settings, right? I just get it now. And I want you to think about that, because that is literally how this works, that habit creation, right? You just keep trying, because in the beginning, it is frustrating sometimes. And tying this back into some other things, like when I started nutrition coaching, again, I was really excited. And I told someone in full excitement that I got certified. I got my Precision Nutrition 1. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm so stoked, I'm really ready. Like, I'm ready to kind of get this started. And the response was kind of like, oh yeah, and I think it's too personal. I shouldn't help people with that, with the food side of things, And I was like, huh? I was very surprised either way, but like, I also was determined, and I kept fucking doing it. Like I said, it's been my full-time thing for 3 years now, When we started this podcast, I literally, the first thing I did when we started this podcast, one of the first things I said was that you just need to focus on just getting started and take imperfect action. You can go back to our first episode, right? We talk about taking imperfect action. And I always kind of like cringe a little bit when I hear old episodes. But it's a process. And you know what? Go to our old episodes and maybe go from like 1 to like 20, 30, 40, whatever, and like 50, right? It's a difference. So also for us, we're improving, we're working on this, and we just keep showing up. Last me example, then I'll throw out some more. But in 2020, right, when I started this thing, I worked with my mentor at the time, Sam Miller. And I could not hit record on my phone and start talking. I could not get it done. I it was just complete, just ramble. It was just bullshit, like it was super awkward. But he was like, you just got to hit record. Just start trying, right? Because me being an online nutrition coach, I need to start trying, because at some point you're going to have to like speak online and start to like, spread the word, So, and it was so weird. It was so awkward. But then you start, and in the beginning, I swear, my whole camera roll was full of stuff, right? But then you get a little better at it and you just do it. You know what I mean? And now we're here, we're doing a podcast. I do webinars, seminars, public speaking at like in-person stuff, which is super cool. But that's me who struggle with that for 30 plus years. You know what I mean? And I'm sharing this not to like toot my own horn and to show you like, oh, you know what, look at what I overcame. Like, no, fuck that. That's not what this is for. It's to show you that I literally am doing something that I struggle with for my whole my whole life, not even just adult life, my actual whole life. I struggle with public speaking. I remember first time I joined the band I play in, and we went to Australia. I flew from Amsterdam to Australia, went on tour there, and we met up in Amsterdam. We flew from there, long ass flights. It was 24-hour plus like travel. It was crazy with the layovers and stuff. And I could barely hold a conversation with that one person I was traveling with. You know what I mean? That's really been like a thing for me. It's really like a big insecurity. And I worked on that through the years, but it wasn't until like 2020 that I really started to make that change, at least in terms of like online and public speaking, those kind of things. Right. So again, I don't want this to come off as like I'm like, giving myself too much credit here, but because fuck that. But it's just to give you an example. Like, think about that, right? And I want you to remember this too. Every time you hear our podcast, I want you to think about that. Like, I'm doing something that a user struggle with a lot. And I don't need any credit for that. I don't want you to be like, oh, yeah, amazing. Like, sure, I'm proud of that. Of course I am. But it's to show you that you can also work through these kind of things, right? Use that as fuel for yourself or changing your habits. And remember that I'm currently doing something I struggle with for 30 plus fucking years. I use that again, like use it as fuel. For my CrossFit friends, like you don't walk into the CrossFit gym and snatch 100 kilos on day one. Like no one nails the like Olympic lifts on day one. You show up and you drop the bar and you're super awkward with the technique and you try again. And then you probably mess up another like billion times before you actually get it. You know what I mean? And my CrossFit friends will know what I mean exactly. But maybe if you're a runner, right? No one starts with a fucking marathon. Like you probably start with like 5 minutes or something, or 10 minutes or whatever it is. And you build that up. You take it from there. If you want to get into hiking, you probably don't want to start with Mount Everest. You know what I mean? Probably start with an easy mountain or skiing maybe or something. So I hope that all makes sense, right? You got to start somewhere, but it's a process. And I hope this podcast kind of motivated you to like now do something with this, right? And that's something I have to mention too. Feel free to keep listening to our podcast, and please keep doing so. Obviously, that's what I do. That's what we do, I should say. To educate you on stuff, to help you with this shit. But there is something to be said about putting it into action, because you can do two things when you're done with this episode. You can listen to it, finish it, and be like, that was cool. Get on with your week, and you kind of like leave it, right? Or you put it into action. You go to the link in the show notes. You go to the habit tracker. It's a free download. All you got to do is drop your email, your first name, right? That's the price you got to pay. No strings attached. Like, that's literally it. Get the free download in your email. And you put it in you start using it today, tomorrow, right? You start using it. You put in your habit, right? Hey, this is the number one thing I want to aim for the rest of this week, maybe the next couple of months. And you just start ticking the boxes. Super simple. You start winning the day, That's all you got to do. Again, I hope there was a bit of a call to action almost, right? To where I want you to really do something with this. And I know that you probably know what the number 1, 2, or 3 habits are that you struggle the most with. So let's do something about it. Now, if you do need more help, if you don't know for sure where to start, hit me up on Instagram, shoot me a quick message or email, right? Because I can help you. I have a habit cheat sheet as well. I have a whole bunch of stuff inside of our fitness community too on Facebook. So I'm happy to invite you there as well. I'll be dropping the link down below anyway, because I think I mentioned it earlier in the episode already, forgot. But either way, right? Do something with this stuff. Put it into action. Don't just listen to it and be like, okay, cool. I will be back on Thursday with a bonus recording of the Q&A that we did inside of a group for the Momentum May Challenge. So it's a rapid fire Q&A. I might, because I actually have another one. I might even be combining the two, but we'll see, depending on the questions and how many good ones I had in there. I think the second one was a little bit better last Friday, but either way, I'll make sure to put that up. It's going to be up on Thursday. And again, stay tuned for Monday, because I'm going to be celebrating 3 years of my company, which I'm super fucking proud of, right? 3 years of nutrition coaching. We're going to do a little bit of a recap, a little bit of, talking about some transformations. And I got some news too that I want to share with you. So I'll talk to you then. Have an amazing week. Good luck. And again, put it into action, right? We'll see you soon.